Tales of the Titans, Raven issue 1, Tini Howard and Eleonora Carlini on the art.
So would you be surprised to know that this is a struggle between Raven and her father Trigon?
Trigon and a Raven story? That doesn't sound like Raven.
Except, much like the Starfire one, which was kind of about Starfire's legacy and where she is, who she is to the people of Tamaran, this kind of plays at the idea of Raven as a Titan versus Raven as Trigon's daughter. So in this, Raven and Starfire are going to a character named Pantha, who I think was a member of the Teen Titans at one point. She's pregnant, and they're going to her baby shower. And, Starfire is very excited because there's going to be a baby. And Raven's kind of like, look, I'm feeling like weird stuff about this. Like anytime a baby's around, I think of my upbringing and how my mom really wasn't given a choice. She was taken advantage of and didn't get to live the life she wanted to live. And it's just something that I'm going to have to get through. And Corey gives her a hug and is like, we're growing up now. We're going to have to see our friends having kids. Like this can't be a problem all the time. Meanwhile, while they're at the baby shower, Trigon's in his realm. And he is yelling at one of his sons, who goes by the name of Trilogy, which is still a kind of dumb name. But he just wants to be, he wants to serve Darkseid. He wants to serve Trigon. It's very the same dynamics of Darkseid and Calabac or any one of his kids. That basically, you failed me. If you want, you need to produce an heir of a grandson. So then I can, I'm not going to be able to form myself on Earth without one. So you go down there and do that. So through this, Raven hears a call to this church where there's a lady that is pregnant on an altar, almost like she's praying, and Raven can feel that something's off, right? Like there's a desperation, that almost like, even though this woman's pregnant, she's having a change of heart. As she starts investigating more, this angel, like when I say angel, the dude looks like something out of, biblical art. This big blonde guy with huge wings, almost like a loincloth toga wrapped around him. And he proclaims to be Amadeus, a spirit of the Azarathis. So I don't know if you remember much of Raven's actual origin, right? So while she's the daughter of Trigon, her mom is able to escape to the Azarath plane, right? And that's where she was raised. That's why, her magical words, I always forget what the full 3 are, but one of them is Azarath. And so it's one of these beings from Azarath that's come to help her shepherd this lady, because this lady is going to be a vessel of Trigon, right? And Raven doesn't want the same thing that happened to her mother to happen to this lady. But she can't get close because once Trigon's involved, they're going to be able to sense her power if this is a cult to Trigon, right? So Amadeus gives her this, essentially this box. It looks almost like a music box that says you can put essentially your soul self here, right? And they won't be able to sense any of that Trigon-ness or Azarathi magic powers on you. And you'll be able to essentially go undercover into this church. As she goes, she mentions, they ask her if she's ready. She goes, of course, I'm a Titan. I'm always ready. They go in and there's this super, dark occult ritual going on in this church. It's almost Church of Blood-esque. This guy, older guy, long hair, mustache, beard, has this big, huge scythe, and he is cutting himself, chanting about the blood of Trigon. They end up giving, as she's in her human form, Rachel, a baptism in blood, to which then she passes out and ends up, waking up running through the halls of this church, where she runs into Eden, who's the lady that she came to help, right? She's pregnant. Come to find out that the guy that was doing the ritual is the one that she's going to have the baby with. in that she's having second doubts that if this was even the right, if this was even the right person in the right circumstances. But they're like, he's loud. He doesn't actually believe in a lot of this stuff. So as they're doing another ritual, Raven starts to break it up. They realize that when they realize that who she is, these like creatures come up out of the blood, and they're servants of Trigon. She ends up fighting them off even without her powers, because part of this ritual that Santiago, the older guy, was doing was to pull out the scythe of the hunter, and it's this big bone. It looks like a bone version of the Grim Reaper scythe, right? But it's more hand-sized instead. So they end up fighting these creatures off with the scythe. She explains that she didn't realize, she's still new to the church. She didn't realize she thought they were all in danger. But he reassures her that's just part of the ritual. She has a lot to learn. Rachel/Raven tries to talk Eden into leaving, but she doesn't. She feels like she's still making the right choice. And then Amadeus comes back to her and, is like, you're certainly doing all this fast. You are convincing her. I can feel this. We're then, because he comes to her in a dream, she wakes up and realizes that something's wrong. So they're out on like the grounds of this church, riding this horse. It looks like they're hunting a unicorn, and that's what they had summoned the scythe to do. They're prepping Eden for her wedding to Santiago, which will fully seal this whole ritual. They end up summoning Amadeus through this ritual, which Raven now reveals that she realized this whole time that Amadeus wasn't who he thought he was, is that he essentially was Trilogy, her brother, and that he was trying to manipulate her into, trying to push the woman so far into leaving that she would stay, right? Kind of do what they needed. But Raven mentioned that she's an empath, and the reason she went through with all this is she knows that Trilogy's heart's not in it, right? That he's actually tired of being mistreated by Trigon, and that he has failed on purpose. Once she brings all this up, he kind of gets embarrassed, and they start fighting. She ends up teleporting him away with her soul self, which then reveals to this entire church of Trigon, right, that she is Raven. So she leaves. Eden decides not to go through with the wedding anyways, and she's like, well, you didn't. Why are you helping me? You don't know me. She's like, it's my duty to help people. That's what I do. Because I'm a Titan gets said a lot in this, and it's probably the biggest issue that I would have is like, we don't need it. It's called Tales of the Titans. I don't need to be reminded every 10 pages that you're a Titan, Raven, and Teenie Howard on top of that. So her and Eden leave. She ends up calling Starfire on the phone to let her know, hey, I'm done with my mission, and as she goes back into her house, there's a knock on the door, and it's her brother, Trilogy, asking if she's ready to talk. And she goes, yeah, am I ever? And then ends. So it seems like, I don't know if this is going to play into some of the Raven stuff that we have been getting in the pages of like Nightwing and Titans, right? Or if this is just setting stuff up for Raven later, right? Almost as if she's building a unified front against the, with the sons and daughters of Trigon, because he's got to have a bunch out there, right? Like, it's not just Raven. And this just thwarted his grandson through all of this. But yeah, some of the magic stuff gets a little bit confusing just because it is magic, and Teenie Howard doesn't do like a fantastic job of laying out what these actual rules are. It just kind of gets built up to, occult shenanigans. But just the idea that Raven knew that this angel creature, right, was her brother, even without her powers, she could sense that something was off. I kind of like that. It kind of shows her swagger. So a lot of fun. Did enjoy this as much as the Starfire one, right? But I feel like it, that just comes down to maybe the characters. I don't have the same affinity for Raven. The art is pretty decent. The creatures look really, really good. Sometimes Raven's face, it's almost a less is more kind of approach to the art style. So it's not quite my thing, but I wouldn't call it bad. A lot of the faces sometimes are very simple versus, the Santiago character, the guy with the long hair, beard, and mustache. There's a lot more going on to him because he has more expressive stuff through his facial hair versus, Raven, who kind of has this short cropped hair, these big earrings and stuff. But yeah, the action sequences look pretty good when she teleports her brother away with her soul self. It looks pretty cool. It's got the big Raven logo working for it. But yeah, pretty enjoyable read on a week that we didn't have a lot to read, so I'm thankful for that. So rating, I'll give this a 7.5.